I recently made a video that did sort of an overview of how I use AI voiceovers and sort of the positives and negatives to it and how it is used in my work. And it got a pretty solid reception. So I figured people might be interested in learning about another aspect of the power of AI that I use semi-regularly for smaller projects. So one of the things that I do a lot of is sifting through interviews. So any sort of sit-down interview, whether it's a testimonial or someone sharing their story or multiple people sharing their story or telling their side of some sort of concept, there is a lot of sifting through the audio to pick out certain sound bites and rearranging those so that it best tells a story or communicates a certain idea or narrative. It's not very uncommon for those interviews to be anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes long of people talking. And out of that 20 or 30 minute interview, I might only pull 30 seconds of them actually talking. And then on top of that, sometimes the video has 15 or 20 interviews with people. If you have 15 interviews at 45 minutes apiece, you're looking at, close to 15 hours of sitting there and listening to somebody. So I'm going to do a quick demonstration of sort of a workflow of how I use text-based editing, transcripts, and large language models to help speed up that process. Now, it is important to say that this is not something that I do by default. This is a pros and cons balancing process that I have to do on certain projects that might not be as important, or the specific wording or language used is not as important. So take this with a grain of salt. I don't recommend doing this on every single project. It's not a foolproof system. I filmed myself talking for about 20 minutes on the subject of why I like Market Basket's donuts and why I think they're king of all donuts locally in the area. But I tried to do some common things that people do in interviews, which is a lot of rambling, side stories, interjections, ums and ahs, thinking about their question, repeating themselves, stuff that extends just naturally the amount of time that it takes somebody to feel like they're really telling a story. If you really want to get technical, I did include the entire interview at the end of this video to see what the AI passed over. But for the sake of brevity, I'm just going to kind of show you the editing process and the outcome. So once we have the interview, we import it into Premiere and we create a transcript. This is sort of the first step of the artificial intelligence stepping in. It's going to listen to every word I say and make a text output for it. But in this scenario, rather than creating captions, I'm going to export the transcript as a text file. Then at this point, you can move over to whatever your favorite large language model is. My personal one that I'm using for this is the controversial DeepSeek. And I'm going to upload the text file along with some light instructions about what's the intention of this video, what sort of thing I'm looking for, and specifically instructing it to give the output as a transcript. So it's just highlighting those sound bites so I still have the time markers. That's really important. Once I have those highlights, I can go back to Premiere, open up the text-based editing window setup, and I will copy and paste the moments that DeepSeek gave me, the words, and I will find it in the original transcript. And Premiere will automatically highlight from where the words are that I'm highlighting in the space where it is in the raw video. And at that point, I'm just dragging and dropping those clips onto my timeline. Now from here, depending on the project, you may be done. Likely not really. You're gonna have to probably tweak some stuff. A lot of times it struggles with the context, so you have to use your human brain to help guide it. And then from that point on, you add music, adjust some ins and outs, make it a little bit more fluid, and actually turn it into a full video. So my name is Keller Nunley. I'm a huge lover of donuts, I guess you could say. Now, I'm not like a food connoisseur person. Donuts are like one of my favorite sweet treats, and it hasn't always been that way. I have sort of a philosophy against what I call like Instagram foods. Like they're definitely made to look delicious, but in terms of like the actual logistics of eating them, sometimes they're super messy or they're just trying to do too much with it. So if it's like, where's the best place to just get a donut, right? Nothing fancy, nothing crazy, just a donut. I'd have to say Market Basket Donuts. Market Basket Donuts are the best. They do it right. Dunkin' Donuts is selling you Debbie cakes, like pre-wrapped, pre-made donuts that aren't any good, okay? They're fine, they're sweet, I'll eat them, I'll enjoy them, I get them all the time. But how I rate them on a quality scale, it's like the McDonald's hamburger of donuts. But the Market Basket donut is made with care. We're talking about where's the best place to get donuts today, like around you. And what is the most accessible? And Market Basket donuts are really good. So I implore you, if you are someone who enjoys pastries, to go try Market Basket Donut. Market Basket Donuts, I think, are some of the best donuts in the game. I think if you really weigh the quality versus the humbleness of what they're trying to be, I think they sit right in this nice little Venn diagram of like quality and insanity and like convenience, and they're just in a nice spot. Like I said at the beginning, this is not a foolproof process. This is just a huge lift when you have tons and tons of interviews to go through. It also doesn't really work if the person is not really natively speaking. It doesn't work really well with bad audio, and it doesn't really work with very complex sort of video ideas, and it's not very creative. So having a really good sense of what your source material is super important. I have the luxury of often having filmed the interviews that I'm editing, so I already sort of know just by looking at the highlights of like, well, no, I know they said some better stuff here. I wouldn't necessarily just blindly take something in and take the output and assume that those are the best sound bites. But in the context of time frame as well, sometimes on a project, it doesn't really matter if those are the strongest sound bites. It's just a matter of like, does this get the point across, and it speeds up the time. But this is something that I use probably 1 out of every 4 or 5 videos of this kind that I make, and it just helps tremendously speed up the process. Otherwise, I just have to sit for hours and listen and make notes and cuts and stuff, so it's super helpful. So yeah, hopefully that was interesting to you, maybe even helpful to you. As more text-based editing becomes common, I'm always looking at other editors to know, hey, what do you do? What do you do? What's your workflow? Because this is just a workflow that I've sort of evolved by my own discovery process. All right. Hello. So my name is Keller Nunley. I am, I'm a huge, let's see, let me start that over. I'm a huge lover of donuts, I guess you could say. Now, I'm not like a food connoisseur person. Donuts are like one of my favorite sweet treats, and it hasn't always been that way, but I do love any sort of like sweet pastry. I love cookies and things like that. And donuts are something that I like almost always go for, and I crave a lot, I would say. One of the things, though, that I notice is, like, I have a sort of a philosophy about how, let's see, how do I put this? I have sort of a philosophy against what I call like Instagram foods that I'm not really about, because there's a lot of restaurants and stuff or bakeries that will post these like crazy pictures of different pastries and foods and things that they make, but they don't, like, they're definitely made to look delicious, but in terms of like the actual logistics of eating them, sometimes they're super messy, or they're just trying to do too much with it. And so I sort of like base my judgment on foods with that sort of like qualification. And so I see all the time when people are like, oh, where's the best place to get donuts? Or like, what's your favorite donut? It's so easy to look at like the fanciest donut places. Like there's New Hampshire Donut Company in Concord that makes these crazy donuts. I mean, they'll be like donuts that have like bacon and, like this jelly and a windmill on top of it. And don't get me wrong, those donuts are good, but it starts to go away from a donut and more into like this novelty bakery item. And I'm not as big of a fan of that kind of stuff, because I feel like the enjoyment and the cost and stuff start to outweigh. So if it's like, where's the best place to just get a donut, right? Nothing fancy, nothing crazy, just a donut. I'd have to say Market Basket Donuts. Market Basket Donuts are the best. They do it right. And I'm just talking about the donuts that you get at the bakery. And you can't just go anytime. You can't just show up like at night, like a 5 or 6 o'clock. You can't show up at like 5 or 6 o'clock at night and get a good donut there. You got to go like Saturday, Sunday morning, 7 a.m., right when they open, right when those donuts are fresh. And they're just basic. They're just basic donuts. with like some frosting or some sprinkles. And sometimes they do some pretty interesting stuff. Like they'll put, like crushed up Oreos on it or something. They get kind of fancy, but nothing like insane. But the thing is that the foundation of the donut, the actual pastry itself, is so high quality, because if you compare it to like Dunkin' Donuts itself is selling you Debbie cakes, like pre-wrapped, pre-made donuts that aren't any good, okay? They're fine, they're sweet, I'll eat them, I'll enjoy them, I get them all the time. But how I rate them on a quality scale, it's like the McDonald's hamburger of donuts. There's no love and care put into it. They're just mass produced and put out. But the Market Basket donut is made with care. It's made with quality. You know what I'm saying? It's like they put pride and effort into, like, it just tastes like a donut that's been made fresh in a bakery. And you can get that in a lot of places around New Hampshire. But if you tell me, like, hey, where's a good place? If someone says to me, you ask somebody, hey, where's a good place to get a donut? They're going to tell you, like, oh, you got to go to Stephen Point, Rhode Island at the little place. It's like, I'm not going there. I'm here today on a Saturday. I want a donut. Where can I go? But you can definitely just tell someone, oh, go to Market Basket. There's Market Baskets near everybody. And I'm willing to bet the bakeries are all pretty comparable. I can't say I've had donuts from like every single bakery and from every single Market Basket, but it's the standard. It's such a high quality standard that, I really think it's good. I think grocery store food in general is pretty high quality because they have the ingredients there. There's people making stuff back there. And they just have access to relatively fresh ingredients. They're not trying to crush. A grocery store is making all their profits from you going to a grocery store. So they're not trying to crush down that line item to be like the most cost efficient and effective thing ever. Hold on. Let me make sure this is recording. Oops. Okay. Sorry, sometimes I get a little afraid that I'm halfway through a video and it's not actually recording, but what was I saying? Yeah, I mean, on a scale of like 1 to 10, 10 being the best donut I've ever had, where does a Market Basket donut sit? A 6, right? Nothing crazy, nothing impressive. I'd put a Dunkin' Donuts donut at like a 3. So again, we're not talking about like what's the best donut, where's the best place to get donuts you've ever had in your life. We're not talking about that. We're talking about where's the best place to get donuts today, like around you. And what is the most accessible. And Market Basket donuts are really good. So I implore you, if you are someone who enjoys pastries, to go try a Market Basket donut. It's not going to be the most insane thing you've ever had in your life. But tell me it's not better than most of like the coffee shop donuts or just the standard donuts that you get. And I guarantee you that when you eat that donut, you're going to think to yourself, you're going to go, that is a place I'm going to get donuts more often. I go all the time. Caden and I like to go to the grocery store, and my son Caden and I like to go to the grocery store early in the morning because that's when it's the cleanest and he can run the aisles, and it's full of old people, and old people think kids are cute. If you go later in the day, no one thinks that kid is cute. Ooh. Excuse me. So, yeah, Market Basket donuts, I think, are some of the best donuts in the game. I think if you really weigh the quality versus the humbleness of what they're trying to be, I think they sit right in this nice little Venn diagram of like quality and insanity and like convenience, and they're just in a nice spot. So that's my whole thing about donuts. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening.